Here we go. Hey everyone, this is going to be fun. Actually, this is Kate Malloy. I am the Chief of Design and Culture at Malloy Events, and we have Rachel here, who's our Chief Technical Designer, and we are very excited to start a new series to support all of the amazing site leads and campaign managing leading humans in the world who spent so much time with us for the 2020 New Hampshire primary. We have known some of these people since the 2016 cycle, but a lot of these folks that you'll be learning and hearing from have been with us for 18 months to 2 years prior to this past February when we had our primary, which feels like a long time ago, but it really wasn't. I do have gray hairs to prove it. But we realized that we got off of the primary schedule. They leave New Hampshire and they go all over the rest of the country. And then the coronavirus hit at the exact same time that some of these amazing candidates decided to drop out of the race. And you get this incredible group of individuals who are very talented in the event space that can't actually go out and interview and get their next step in their career with this amazing amount of experience under their belts because we're all stuck at home for now, which is the right call and it's safe and whatnot, but it's just unfortunate that the momentum that they would have normally been given from the primary season kind of fell flat. So we want to showcase all of these people. We've worked with them near and dear for months and months and didn't sleep for hours and woke up and had coffees together and don't remember what day it was together. And we thought it would be a really fun experience to ask them some questions specific to the New Hampshire primary, because that's where we, worked with them for a long time. So this is our first inaugural, I don't even want to call it an interview because we know her so well, it's not an interview, but conversation or catch up with Amanda Kules. Amanda, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. Hi. Tell us who you are, tell us what position and what candidate you worked for and why you chose that candidate.
Yes, so I worked for Senator Elizabeth Warren. I joined the campaign in November of 2019. Wow, what year is it? And I was the senior Northeast Regional Advanced Lead, specifically focusing on New Hampshire. So as soon as I started, my first day, I was in New Hampshire and basically never left until that fateful day of February 11th. And I was basically in charge of every single trip that the senator took to New Hampshire. And if she ever was in Boston or New York, I was also the lead for those trips as well, those being in the Northeast region. And I worked for Senator Warren because I believe she had the ideas, she had the plans, obviously she's planned for everything. And I thought that she was just a new voice that really could resonate with the American public and could make a lot of changes that I don't think a lot of other candidates had been proposing.
And when you say advance, because that's something we're very used to hearing, what does that mean to a person not in the political world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we travel in advance of candidates, setting up rallies, setting up events, setting up anytime you see a candidate standing behind a podium, that's advance. Anytime you see a candidate go to a bookstore, that's advance. Anytime you see a candidate with a microphone at all, that's advance. So there's site advance, there's press advance, there's crowd advance, there's a whole group of people that come together to make these events happen. And if you see us, that means we're doing something wrong. So the fact that nobody knows who we are is a testament to how good we are at what we do.
That is something Christopher, who you've worked with closely in our team, says the same thing. If people in events are in the forefront, there is something very wrong and we should be always behind the scenes and never noticed. So that we appreciate that for you, your group of people as well. Tell me a little bit about what it was like to actually work in your position for advance for the senator.
Yeah, so I actually worked with Malloy Events in 2016 on the 2016 cycle for Secretary Clinton. So I knew of Chris and I had briefly walked in a hallway with you. But so this cycle was a lot different. Obviously, we don't have the added aspect of Secret Service, and our events were a lot more just like being around the people and saying what the candidate was trying to put out. So that was definitely a different experience. Senator was solo maintenance and so just like excited to get out there and meet people. So that was a really fun experience. And we were actually able to plan our events really far out in advance, which was really nice. We had a week.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Oftentimes in 2016, we were, planning events with 24 hours notice, but with the senator and her team, her scheduling team, were super intent about making sure the community knew events were happening a long time in advance, so they were able to come and change their schedules to be at these events. It was very important to everyone, which was really great, and it gave us a lot of time to find venues and make sure that our events were really, really well thought out. And so that was a new experience.
So here's something that a lot of people don't think about in their regular event work, because they're dealing with a live group of people. You have to deal with both the humans in the room, but also the millions potentially people watching on every news channel across the globe. How did you think in those different ways when it was actually happening at the same exact time?
I think it was because we had, as I said, there's so many different roles on an advanced team. There were certain things I didn't have to worry about, right? We had this beautiful team called the Oats, and they were responsible for our crowd movements, organizing advanced team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Organizing advanced team.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I was like, wait a minute.
They were responsible for making sure our crowd was having the best time possible and making sure it was so easily accessible. So once I saw that they were on site, I'm like, great, don't have to worry about that. Our site lead was important. They were responsible for getting her from car to stage to selfie line to back to car. So once the site lead was there, I didn't have to worry about that. The press person dealt with all the press people. So really there was just, everyone had their roles, and my role, I guess, was to make sure everyone knew what they were supposed to be doing and had the tools they needed to be successful. And then just making sure that overall look and feel of like, is the podium sign straight? Is the flag well lit? Is, all that stuff? Is the banner looking great? So I think that all that coming together, everyone can focus on that. And then I can step back and see the bigger picture of like, does this look like something that we would want to be broadcast on all those TV stations?
Right. What do you even look for in a venue? Like, what are the elements of a venue that you say, this is it, this is perfect? Because you did indoor venues and outdoor venues and daytime venues and nighttime venues. You did them all. So what were you looking for?
Our number one is accessibility, right? So can all attendees get into the building easily? If you're in a wheelchair, if you're in a hovercraft, if you're, if you have a dog, if you have anything, are you able to get into the building and see the event? Are there 2 access points? We don't necessarily like, the senator to arrive in the same door as the front door, because then she gets stopped with all the other people. So is there a second door? How's the parking? How expensive is it, right? We want to make sure that we're not spending too much money on a venue, because we want to make sure we're spending our money correctly. How many does it fit? Obviously the fire marshal capacity. Me and the fire marshals of New Hampshire are all best friends now, because I was able to get to know all of them and make sure that I was doing things safely and efficiently. What does it look like during the day? What does it look like at nighttime, based on what time the event is, like where are the windows? Just things like that. How many restrooms are there, like parking? A ton of stuff goes into it, and there's kind of like a weighted scale. There are certain deal breakers like the accessibility, the entrance points, and the capacity. Those are the big things. Depends on what we need, but it should always be accessible, and there should always be multiple access points.
So that's very similar. The list might be a little bit longer, but for any of our clients, when we go in venue searching, it's very similar. Capacity, accessibility are big. So it's all the same world. It's a small little world that we live in events, whether you're dealing with political candidates or corporate conferences or not-for-profit galas. This is my favorite part of the interview. All about New Hampshire now. All about it. What would you say was your favorite event you guys did in New Hampshire, and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it's weird, but I think our event in Hanover was my favorite.
Okay.
Because it was my favorite. I know that you guys are interviewing me, so it's going to sound corny that I'm saying this, but it was my favorite because of what y'all did. So we had an overflow situation, and I just had said offhandedly, either my production order on the phone with you or in a text, I was like, oh, we're having overflow. So y'all brought an extra camera and hooked up to the TV. So not only did our overflow cloud where they were able to hear the event, they were able to see the event. And then we were able to, our site lead, Elizabeth Sklar, who was amazing, she was able to get the senator to the actual overflow. So she was able to talk to them and greet with them. And then eventually she did her event in the main room. We did our tickets to do a Q&A. We actually were able to pull those overflow people that were pulled a ticket over to the main space. So they were able to ask their questions. And then at the end, selfie line in both rooms. And it worked out perfectly. And it was so smooth, and no one would even notice that she was walking through the main space to get to that overflow. It was just worked out so smoothly, and we fit a ton of people in, and we didn't have to really turn away anyone, which was great.
That was That was a great event. You had a ton of people at that event too.
So many
That
people.
overflow was totally necessary. It's a great space. That's the Hanover Inn, really great venue. We like working out there a lot. So that's your favorite. This is not like what's your worst event you ever did. That's not what it is. What was the most challenging New Hampshire event, and why was it challenging?
I think my most challenging event was primary night, just because all eyes, every eye is on every event on the campaign in general. But I think our regular, town hall events, kind of, we have them down right at this point.
Right.
So, you don't need a lot of like oversight from senior staff, but any election night, any primary night was going to be a lot of like eyeballs on the site diagrams and what the plan is and what the plan B, C, D through Z is.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people wanting to kind of make that night be their own. And I came into it being like, let's just make this as simple as possible so we can add or subtract as needed. And I think there was just a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts, understandably so. It's a huge night. But I think just the like going back and forth and making changes, and y'all rolled with the punches really well. That was really challenging. And then of course at the end of the night, finding out that we had to be out of the space within 2 hours or something, otherwise we get charged some extra.
It was like 32 minutes. It was
Yeah, it was like, you now have 10 minutes to clean up. Bye.
Yeah. All these like tons, like there was like massive catwalk and like huge press riser and tons. And so I just remember turning to my team and being like, we got to get out of here. And so just every single
it was a full
person,
team effort.
It was, we were just ripping up cords nicely. We didn't
rolling carpets. Everybody was doing everything.
We were rolling over, taking down the podium. We worked our butts off trying to make sure we got out of there on time. So
and something that was cool about that was everybody from your campaign staff helped.
Yeah, I would definitely second that, Rachel. A lot of the campaigns are very collaborative. You guys in particular, we felt like you guys became part of our family, and we hope that you felt the same way about us. But that was the last of the gigs in our state, and we knew everyone by name and everyone's coffee preferences at that point and what people wanted for salads and sandwiches and such. And we ordered pizza and you ate it, and you ordered pizza and we ate it. And that night was just like, let's just work it together and get it all done and get out of there, which definitely makes everything a lot easier to work with. And that we felt out through the whole entire campaign process with you. This brings me to the next question, Rachel. What was something unique that you experienced in New Hampshire besides tiny hands?
And tiny flags.
Or oh God, I mean, I might pull an audible and tell you to go and get that, Rachel, in the back of my car, because that's how important it is. The littlest one is maybe in my garage. I'm just gonna say, but she's gonna do it. It's worth it. Yeah.
I have traveled in 2016 and the 2020 cycle. I traveled to almost the entire country on different campaigns. I have never gone to a state that truly lives their state motto more than New Hampshire. Like Live Free or Die is on t-shirts, it's on billboards, it's on license plates, it's on everything, and it's like so ingrained. Like the fact that free staters exist, I think it's so fascinating to me. I think it's just such an amazing place that people go, like people are obviously born and raised in New Hampshire, but people that move to New Hampshire, I think move there because of that mentality of like live free or die. And I think it's such a wild kind of state. I love it. My favorite.
We are the live free or diers. Oh, this is good. I'm getting a hand delivery right now. Okay. So we're gonna deviate from the last question because this is important. So I'm gonna share with people, and it's not a dig on you, it's the best thing you've ever done. And you're not the first person, you're not the only person. And Rachel has scaled ones as well, which she'll share in a minute. We get these things we call production orders, which are kind of like our run of shows in our world. And it tells us how big the stage is and what flags for visuals and what kind of drape if she needs barrier and all that kind of stuff. How many microphones, how many speakers, yada, yada, press deck. And usually flags are in feet because they're large items, but sometimes Amanda would write things in inches. So I think it was probably 3/4 of the way through. It might've been just the very last 2 weeks. It was the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Rachel and I decided that we were just going to get down to it and make scaled flags, because the other piece to this, which doesn't have to do with Amanda and her inches versus feet situation, is, and it was actually rare on your sites, even in the 2016 elections and 2020, because we did work with other candidates, we would have a site lead staring at a stage with a flag with their head just tilted slightly for 15 minutes and then think about if the flag should move 1 inch or 6 inches or if it's level or not, and then send a picture. Because National has to approve it, and then 4 other people would come, and then they tilt their heads this way, and they would look, and they would wonder. And we thought, wouldn't it be hysterical if we had baby flags on the stage and then ask someone to get a picture and send it to National to get approval? So this is a scaled vertical 4-inch by 6-inch American flag. That's a scaled.
12 by 18 if you need it.
And we started traveling with these for the primary for the Warren team and putting them on the stage, which we'll have to cut in some of these shots because they're hilarious.
They're
then
hilarious.
We got really nuts one night, Rachel and I, and decided to get banners printed of her primary night banners. Also scaled those and started putting them on different stages and such. And it just made us. You got this type of extreme work with no sleep and no time. Laughter is the only way to survive it, which is why this is where the baby tiny flags came from. So that is a tangent. My last question.
Traveled with me across the country.
They did, right? It went all the way to the West Coast. That's the great part about it. My last question for you, which is my favorite question, and I bet everyone's gonna have a very unique answer. So you travel all over the country. You have site times. You've got trips to go to. You have a gig and the next gig, and you have the next gig, and you don't get to go to a restaurant or go to a grocery store because you're sleeping in hotels. So I want to know, what's the best meal you've ever come up with because you have 5 minutes in a gas station or a supermarket or something ridiculous that let's say the gas station. What is the best thing you've ever put together at a gas station for a travel meal? It's healthy. Just has to be definitely needed. Healthy. Right. Well, it's true.
I guess I just never, gas stations, I just never drove enough to ever need to go to a gas station, or I would have someone else return my car so I didn't have to do it. So I never really went the gas station route. But obviously 3 o'clock in the morning, the only thing that's open is like a McDonald's or something.
Perfect.
But I do love like a good diner, like a 24-hour diner. I will always make time for that. So wherever I can find those, I will make time to do that.
And what's your 3 a.m. diner choice? Like, are you going breakfast or are you going burger?
I'm going sometimes Monte Cristo, which is kind of
in between.
An in-between situation.
A breakfast sandwich situation.
Is it earlier to 3 or is it later to 4? I don't know.
Right. Okay. So you're a diner gal, Monte Cristo style. I like it. Well, those are my questions we had for you. I'm super excited that you're here for our first interview in this series. And I would love to share, when we post this, we'll definitely have you tagged and whatnot. But you're on LinkedIn, you're on Twitter. We just want everyone to know you and be like, hi, I'm Amanda. I'm the best.
I'm here.
Because all of you are. I know you're staying there. You're doing your social distancing until it's time, but you all deserve and need to have really great next career moves because you're all the best people on the planet. So thank you so much for being our first. And I'll wave to you with our tiny hand. Do you want to wave with your tiny hand, Rachel?
Okay.
I can put mine far away and wave.
We got to give you a tiny hand. And thanks for watching, you guys, and we will see you soon. Stay safe.